Hello there everybody, this is Alex from Hardcorian Guides, bringing you my guide for Lollipop Chainsaw on Very Hard, and today we're doing Stage 3, Bannon Farm. I think I said that correctly. So, a few things I want to get out of the way real quick is, you probably noticed earlier that there was no intro, and from now on I think I'm just going to not do intros because it requires getting the music and all that other stuff, and let's just say that, things are more difficult to do, and I just don't, I mean, not that it's impossible, it's just like, I'd rather just not deal with it, and other reasons why. Another thing, too, is that for these next few Lollipop videos, they're going to be a lot shorter than what they probably could have been. There's going to be a lot more fast-forwarding, and there's going to be a lot more cuts. Also, when it comes to the Nick ticket stuff of me using it, I'm just going to let you guys know right now that I have this weird tick where I just need to, you know, hit the sticks a whole bunch. I don't know why. It's just a thing. It's kind of like when fighting game players, like whenever they win a match or whatever. Whenever a match is over and they just start mashing buttons, you know, just waiting for the next match. It's that kind of thing where I'm just waiting to do stuff, and it just kind of became a tick. But I think here it was either trying out the controls again, because it's been a couple of years since I played this, so I was trying to remember how to do everything, well, again. But yeah, you'll probably notice that a few times I actually end up using the Nick ticket, or hitting the stick for it, and that happens. Oh yeah, anyway, about the video lengths. I'm not going to try to go into like hour-long videos anymore, so from now on, if we get into like very long fights or just anything that just seems incredibly boring, I'm just gonna skip it. I'm just gonna fast forward through it. If it's a fight, I'll fast forward through it. But if it's something completely stupid, then I'll just skip it entirely. So I figured since I'm also back now with this, I'm not gonna fast forward a couple of fights in this first new coming video, because I feel like it'd be good to kind of see the game again. That way, you know, just in case anybody actually is playing it again. I don't know. I don't know. My brain don't work very well. Anyway, so that was, of course, the first couple of fights. Nothing really too difficult. And, of course, just like before, one trick you could always do is the whole, like, you know, evading into the square or the light attack, so that you can kick them. Basically, I just call it drop kick. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but that's what I call it. And when you make them groggy, as it says, or basically when you stun them, that's when you go for a chainsaw kill. Usually the heavy version of the chainsaw, not the X version. Or, you know, whatever control scheme you're playing on, of course, would, you know, prefer that. So, anyway, this first part, you're going to see a fast forward because there's like, what, 10? Yeah, there's 10 zombies. So actually, maybe this one might not be fast-forwarded. Okay, never mind. I think that's something else. I guess most likely I probably left this one in because I was like, you know, big giant gang fight. Might as well just let it be as it is. This is essentially me just trying to remember how to play this damn game again because it's been a while. And by the way, I did actually finish all the recordings, and I did beat it on very hard. I don't know, like, it's been a while since I've commentated. I'm trying to like remember how to do all this stuff. But yeah, most of my tips and advice are relatively about the same when it comes to any of these fights. I think most of my advice will probably come into like boss fights and stuff later on. So for the most part, when it comes to Lollipop, that's practically where most of the actual guide part of the videos will come in, is for things that pretty much need a guide for. Well, not really need one, but that would be very beneficial for, I guess. If I remember correctly, I think I skipped this part. I skipped the whole, like, you know, putting Nick's head on the body thing, because I'm just going to skip those two, because those should not be entirely too hard to figure out. Most of this game really isn't that hard anyway. It's just, you get into those fights that end up being a little too much sometimes, and they kill you. And, of course, with this game, there's always a way around. There's always a workaround, and I'll explain probably like in the last video like what I think about the difficulty overall. And as you saw there, I did skip the whole Nick thing, so I'm not going to worry about that stuff. Not anymore. Of course, we got C4 guys. Now, I don't remember if they've actually shown up in this stage or they were in another stage before. I think they were in an earlier stage before, but one thing to do with them is either shoot them or just essentially just like keep pom-pomming or just do what I do and run away and just, you know, circle to dodge, that type of thing. Basically just dodge, just keep dodging out of the way and eventually they'll blow up and hit somebody else. Also, as you probably, of course, know by now, since you guys are most likely watching a very hard guide to this, that you only have one lollipop per, like, just in general, on you at all times. Well, not all times, but you're only allowed up to one lollipop, and that in itself can be quite damning for this mode, but not really, surprisingly. Like, you think it would be, but it's not really that bad, because A, you have Nick tickets, which you can use to, you know, if you die, you just revive, which you will see a lot of later on. By the way, that's my biggest and major tip for Lollipop in general is you want to have a whole bunch of Nick tickets on you at all times. That way you can just pretty much blast through most of these fights with relative ease. Of course, most of your Nick tickets could be wasted if you're not actually actively fighting and, you know, trying to use, you know, the situations to your advantage type thing where, like, you just, you know, drop kick dudes and stuff and you try to make fights a little faster. Especially the, what's it called? Sparkle Hunt, I think it's called, where you do the R2 thing where you know, you charge up that bar on the bottom left when it charges up. Also, if you have bullets, you can use it on these big guys right here because these guys right here are a lot tankier and guns just end up actually doing more damage. This was just me, once again, fiddling around. I did actually whip out the prologue for just a little bit, just to try out the controls again, but I hadn't remembered any of the actual moves themselves. I think I find out most of those moves like at the end of the game, basically. Which, by the way, I do want to say the final boss had some pretty shit jank going on there. Which, actually, I do want to say, which I'll probably most likely talk about in the actual future video when the final is uploaded, is, or when I'm doing commentary for the finale, is that this game has just so much jank, and that's what essentially makes the game anywhere remotely hard, because most of the hardness is actually kind of dropped off with regular zombies don't really do enough. Even like crowded zombies like this, like they're relatively easy to handle. And I don't remember why I decided to charge up here. It was just a dumb mistake. It was pointless. I thought maybe I could probably get away with like a few of them and then get a couple more. But I think it worn off after this. No, it didn't. Okay. But either way, still, I only got like, what, 6 of them out of using this anyway? So it's really just kind of pointless. Also, real quick, I don't know if this was actually said in my previous videos or not, but I do want to state that the X and then square combo, or again, you know, figure out how your controls work on that one. That type of combo is really actually kind of good for bosses, and not only that, but crowds of zombies. Because for a while, I used to think that dodging into the triangle, like, you know, the stab attack, was relatively good for crowd control, but it is and it isn't. Like, it has its merits, but it just kind of falls short because it doesn't do enough to the whole crowd. It just does like a few of them. So it works, but it's not what I would consider the best, and it has some pretty decent damage. Also, real quick, I do want to say that even though this game has a lot of jank, I still like this game. I still had fun playing this game, and I still enjoyed myself playing on very hard. I just don't think that for a guide, mainly commentary-wise, that it's really the best at, you know, complementing each other, because really what Lollipop Very Hard mode boils down to is just have a bunch of Nick tickets on you at all times, so that way if you die, you just use it. And, you know, if you wanted to, you could just use Nick Shake just to get Lollipops back and just re-heal, which you'll see later. And then, of course, you know, you can go to the shop. So, like, if you took damage or whatever, just use a Lollipop, go to the shop, buy another one, bam, there you go, easy. Did I spend all my money on the platinum this time? I do a few times in these next few videos, but I think right here, I think I was just looking at everything I have. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I think this game works the same way that Devil May Cry did, where your stuff kind of carries over into the harder difficulties. So essentially, like, harder difficulties are played on they're played on New Game Plus type stuff. So I think so. I'm not 100% sure. Which, of course, you know, Souls, they do that type of stuff as well. And, yeah, I don't remember. I didn't see if I bought anything or not. I wasn't really paying attention. I seem to have a problem with that lately. It's just not paying attention. But, yeah, for Lollipop, though, I do want to get this guide done and over with. And for future guides, I'm actually looking forward to doing them. They seem like they'd be a lot of fun. It's just, Lollipop is just, in my opinion, it is just a lot more difficult to commentate for because nothing really new technically happens all the time. It's just most of the same type of stuff. I mean, you can say that about any game, really, but I feel like with a game like God of War, like, there's always something new-ish going on, or there's at least usually a new enemy that appears, which, speaking of the devil, here we go. I think this is a new enemy. Archetype. They're relatively easy to beat down because all you gotta do is just shoot them like once. Even on very hard mode, they're not that tanky, which is surprising. Actually, I think most of the zombies and enemies in very hard mode aren't necessarily tanky at all. I think it's just, at least for the actual tank ones are pretty much. Oh yeah, okay. So the cows, just shoot them. Don't do what I did. This is just a huge waste of time. I took too much damage. Just shoot them. Trust me, you'll see later. I'd kill some zombie horses later. Which, speaking of zombie cows, reminds me of playing South Park, and that's another one I would like to do with South Park Stick of Truth. Anyway, so back to what I was talking about. Most of the enemies in this game aren't necessarily, like, tanky. Like, regular zombies are, I don't think they're ever meant to be tanky to begin with. So, they die in relatively a good few hits, which is nice. Most games don't even really do that, though. Most games just take hard mode and then make everything just incredibly inflated for health and just make everything tanky. And at that point, that's not very hard. That's just tedious. Very hard to me is aggressive enemies and just more damage that you take. So that way it relies on your skills to dodge and avoid those attacks instead of just, you know, taking the plunge and getting killed. That, to me, is enough of a hard difficulty. Like, don't get me wrong, like, upping the health of enemies is not a bad thing, necessarily. It's just, like, some games go a little too far. I'm trying to think of anything on the top of my head, specifically right now. Oh, jeez, I don't even know. I mean, it's funny because I mentioned God of War, but I guess technically speaking, God of War is kind of like that. Especially God of War 4, which, in my opinion, God of War 4 is just, especially on, like, giving God of War difficulty, it's just really, meh. Really boring, very hard mode. I didn't fight the Valkyries or anything, but which, those are actually hard. I'm talking about, like, just regular run-of-the-mill run from, like, beginning to end of game type situation, then it's definitely, not the greatest compared to the other 500 fucking God of War games we have these days. Speaking of God of War, on my other channel, my main channel, quote unquote, it basically is, it's my first channel. I did, a couple of years back, I did God of War streams. I did all the God of Wars on the hardest settings. So if you were interested in watching every God of War, like, live commentated, except for God of War 4, because at that time I was getting kind of pissed off and I just didn't even bother commentating God of War 4. So if that's boring to you, then don't watch it, of course. I'm not going to make anybody watch it. But yeah, I'll link the channel in the description below for this video. And then I'll probably also link my other stuff from now on as well. So check the descriptions of every video, which every video should probably... At this point in time, I'm trying to get the upload defaults. I should just do that. I'm trying to get the upload defaults to have, like, all my links to different stuff that I've been doing. And yeah, so people are probably wondering. They're like, we're 15 minutes in this video. We're like halfway in this damn video. When the fuck are you gonna talk about, like, what the fuck happened like 2 years ago? Well, you know, technically this isn't really the best place to put it. I mean, but right now, since we're just writing on basically nothing and doing nothing, the best way I can put it is that I was essentially, for those 2-year span, I was playing the hardest game anybody could ever potentially muster up. Anybody could ever play. And that game is called Life. And unfortunately, there is no guide. And I won't be making a guide. Because 1, I haven't finished it yet. And 2, it's very RNG based and very luck based. So there's a lot of problems with that. But no, for real, mostly I would just say external factors and just Turd Monkey himself, as in like my other main channel, which is what it's called, Turd Monkey 1497. No spaces, no caps, or you can't cap, I don't think it matters. That channel, you know, I had that for like 10 plus years now, and at the time I just wasn't enjoying streaming, and a lot of like internal and external YouTube factors, and then the COPPA thing, and then all that other stuff that happened, and kind of just made me just say fuck it, whatever. And then in that 2 years, like, because like you guys haven't had an update in fucking a couple of years, I've been doing mostly about the same stuff, just minus YouTube. I say mostly the same. There's a few things I started doing. I tried actually focusing on doing art more often, which is what my main focus I want to be. I don't want to focus on Hardcorian. I don't mind like doing these and getting gameplays and stuff and probably doing commentaries, but these won't be as frequent as they probably like. These Hardcorian might be more frequent nowadays, but they definitely won't be Turd Monkey levels of frequent. They're not going to be like uploaded every day, like none of that. Like I'll do a guide, you know, I'll play a game, I'll do commentary or whatever on the weekends or something, and then just plop them up through the week, have them scheduled through the week or something. I don't know. Either way, don't expect these to be done all the time. And plus, after every guide, or after a couple of guides, I'm just gonna take like a couple weeks off, you know, that type of thing, to kind of just help with the mental side of doing this stuff. Because, you know, honestly, this stuff does, as much as it doesn't really seem like it, it can kind of affect you in a way. You know, it can kind of stress you out when you feel like you have to do everything. And with Hardcorian, there's really no reason to just do. I just do it because I want to, and that's how it should be. That's how it should stay. So, again, art will be my main focus, going forward, especially. Which, I mean, I don't really upload much anyway. I'm talking about like just learning and doing and doodling and all that kind of stuff. So I usually try to upload a project once a month, and they're not really great, but I'm trying to get better, and that's the idea. The other thing I did in the 2-year span is I learned how to read katakana and hiragana. I mean, I already know a little bit of Japanese just because I watch a lot of Japanese stuff anyway, but I know I sound like a weeb now, but yeah, I learned how to read those, and just a tad bit of kanji, not too much. Kanji's fucking hard, as everybody knows. Also, I fuck up the trampoline, and I'm just gonna fast forward this next part because it's boring. But yeah, that's mostly what happened. Of course, work. I still work, and all the other fun stuff. Nothing really entirely specific, because my brain doesn't really seem to work very well with trying to remember too much of like what happened before. Oh god, I forgot. My old ass computer makes so much noise when it's running. Oh well, if you hear it, you hear it. I also did get a new computer, but unfortunately I will not be recording videos on that computer. Well, I'll be doing gameplay recordings on that computer, but editing and all the other stuff is gonna go on my old computer. So yeah, as much as I wanted to get rid of the little bastard, I can't escape it, unfortunately. So most of this stuff is inescapable, basically. I'm pretty much just stuck in the past at this point. But, you know, that's fine and dandy. And again, if you guys do hear the the computer fan in the background or just whatever background noise, just ignore it, you know. No big deal. I'm not too worried about it anymore. Because that's the thing, though, is with Hardcorian, I do want to be professional about it, but at the same time, like, in that 2-year span, I've just kind of lost most of that drive and that need to be extremely professional about everything. So I've kind of just, I don't know what you'd call it. Like, I've kind of grown out of it just a little bit, so. But yeah, this fight right here is just mostly just, they're just giant tanky chickens. I guess any advice I can give here is, hopefully at this point you have Sparkle Hunt, which, that's the other thing too, is your rage mode, or what do you want to call it, the Sparkle Hunting thing. My best tip for that is you want to have it on when you feel like you need it the most is when you want to use it. So this right here was a waste. It should have been using the giant 3 chickens, but I didn't have it at the time. So instead I wasted on these assholes. I did this entire fight just completely wrong. Basically they're gonna come down, they're gonna attack a few times, just dodge out of the way, and then when their heads are on the ground, just swipe at them. They're actually relatively weak in terms of health. It's the giant 3 chickens that are the tough part because they're so fucking tanky. And of course with them, just dodge, wait for an opening, that type of thing, and then if you have the Sparkle Hunt, then you should be able to mitigate most of that problem anyway, because, well, then just go down like 1 or 2 hits. So that's how that works. But yeah, always try to save up your rage mode, especially if you've been playing the game like consecutively from like normal or whatever difficulty you're on. If you've been playing consecutively and you're trying to go through and you kind of remember like all the ins and outs. And that's the other thing too, is I want to say, like, most people that are playing on very hard, by this point in time, you probably know how to play the game, so you pretty much probably don't need this guide, to be honest, because, again, this game isn't really that hard. It does have some parts that are kind of bullshit, but other than that, it's nothing I would consider incredibly difficult. So, right here, I was an idiot, and I went way too early. The idea is you want to group up all the zombies, and then from there, you want to go ahead and, you know, do the strip pull. Also, I just realized I have a black bar on the left side there. Fuck, that's annoying. I'll have to change that from now on. Shit. Oh well. I mean, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. I'm not going to go through every single damn of these videos. I maintained the aspect ratio. Should be fine, I would hope. But yeah, and then after that, you just do what you normally do with groups. The same old stuff, you know, drop kick a few of them, do some really heavy damaging attacks, dodge, that kind of stuff. And if you get low on health, you can always use a Lollipop, and of course, if you see another Lollipop, you want to go ahead and use the Lollipop you have now, so that way you can kind of get the most out of your, the most effect out of it. So this next part coming up is going to have a bunch of scarecrows. That's what I'll call them. I have no name for them. It's going to have a bunch of scarecrows, and then it's going to spawn a bunch of, just like a group of zombies on you, and then you're going to see that I'm going to use the explosive barrel to at least kill, I think, a couple of them. And this part right here gives you bullets, which, by the way, I know I've mentioned this earlier, but bullets are incredibly very useful for taking out... Oh, I guess I must have used it on the scarecrow. Okay. Well, bullets are really good at taking out zombies because they do a lot of damage, but that's the thing, though, is like you never really have too much. If you do need bullets in a fight, they will respawn, the bullets, but 9 times out of 10, the bullets don't respawn because, you know, most of the time, you know, really in a spot that needs them particularly. Oh, also, while I'm doing all the shooting, another thing I want to talk about that could potentially happen, this is a huge maybe, is that there's another series that I would like to try to do on this channel, and I thought about making a whole nother channel for it, but I just said, fuck that, that's too much work, who cares? It's just too much of a pain in the ass to keep up with like 3 different fucking channels. And Well, when I say 3, I mean Turd Monkey, but I don't really keep up with that anymore. That's just kind of, that's just there for streams or just any random bullshit I don't want to do. Which I don't stream on Hardcorian, by the way. I don't do anything on Hardcorian besides just guides. And by the way, usually I only ever focus on just one thing at a time. So once that one thing is done, then another thing will happen. But the other thing I thought about doing is a little series called Boss Rush, where, if you could probably guess by the name, is essentially a video type thing. It could be like 30 minutes to an hour. It could be however long it takes, where I play a game on probably whatever difficulty, maybe even play them on hard. I mean, because I am hardcore, and I'm thinking about just saying fuck it and just playing on whatever difficulty I feel like at the time. And essentially, it's just a boss showcase of whatever game. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that I'm playing Ninja Gaiden, and I just record me playing Ninja Gaiden, you know, and I just have just the boss fights, and it's just a compilation of all. I mean, I know this has been done on YouTube a lot, but I just want to do something else for fun. I mean, who cares if it's been done before? I mean, it's whatever, right? There's billions of Let's Players out there, so nobody shits on them, right? No, I mean, they do, but that's the thing, though, is even though there's been so much done before, who's to say that I can't have my own flair? Which, my own little flair isn't really much. It's just one of those things of, like, I would like to see myself beating those bosses and then just having it, you know, uploaded in a compilation type thing. Just like one video compilation. So another example is like Donkey Kong Country. Like, oh, every boss of Donkey Kong Country. It'll just be called Boss Rush. So that's the name of the game. Oh yeah, by the way, they spawn like 30 zombies here. If you shoot the blue tanks, as noted before, they do, I think it's like they get wet, but they essentially get stunned. And that's pretty much the mechanic that's going on. And when they get stunned like they do with just Groggy in general. And from there, you can just, you know, chainsaw hit them and get them like one kill. And then here you have the old man, the old woman, and I forget the other guy, what his name was. He didn't have a name. He's the big tanky guy. I got lucky and got the old woman to be trapped on the fence there. But as you saw earlier, I ran back. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get them to come back, go to the explosives, and then die when I shoot the explosives. But for the old couple, I think you can actually, as you saw with the old woman, I drop kicked her, I think, and then I got it to where she got groggy enough and killed her. So, but the tanky guy, oh god, you know, dodge on top of them, dodge over them, you know, hit them from behind, that type of stuff. Relatively simple stuff, but they're just so damn tanky. They take forever to kill, and that right there is essentially what kills most of these types of runs, is just that shit. So, yeah. Oh, another series that I thought about potentially doing. Actually, I'll probably explain that in a second. Real quick. So, this is the Mariska fight, and this is actually one of the more piss-easy fights because it's just blaster related. There's nothing really going on that requires too much explaining besides just, obviously, in this first part, shoot, dodge the bubbles. That's the best I can tell you. Like, when the bubbles get close, just dodge. I think you can shoot the bubbles. I'm not sure. I didn't bother doing it because I felt like it'd just be a waste of bullets anyway. But if you start seeing them get close, just dodge. And then from there, her first phase is practically done. And then she's going to split into 2, and then she'll split into, like, I think 4 plus whatever. You can use the R1 dash charge thing. Oh yeah, if you get stuck, yeah, you get stuck in bubbles. It sucks. So just try to dodge those on your way there. But once you get to her, the timer goes away. Unlike, you'll see later, dumbass Josie. God, that fight sucked. Oh man. But yeah, the other series I thought about doing is like, what if I just play through Souls games and then just kind of like show off my playthrough and do like post-com type stuff. So they will probably most likely be post-com. It'd be like a, hopefully try to do like an all boss type run for those games. I think Demon's Souls might be the easiest one to do. I don't know if I'll probably do them in order from game. I kind of want to, but at the same time, I don't know if I really want to or not, because I kind of want to play Bloodborne, but at the same time, I just want to do Demon Souls. Yeah. Anyway, so this next phase is, it seems like it's a lot more intimidating, but it really isn't. So when the tractors are coming toward you, you want to shoot them a couple times to get them off your ass. The best advice for this part right here is focus on whatever is giving you the most trouble. So, like for instance, with the tractors coming my way, because they usually kind of come from both sides, I think it was. The trick with those is just whenever they pop up, just shoot them, because I think the ones that respawn on the tractors are always going to respawn on the tractors. I don't think they switch up who spawns where. I think it's just a set version of her that does that already. So, and if you run out of bullets, you're probably going to take a hit, but that's fine, because they really don't do that much damage. And like, even on very hard mode, they don't seem to do much damage, and I think that's... I think some of the enemies in this game just have higher health pools for very hard, but I think at the same time, they don't do a lot of more damage. I don't know. It's very confusing what very hard gives anymore. Because, like, you would think you would take a whole bunch of damage from that, but you really kind of don't. But I'm sure if somebody probably has any idea, they could potentially tell me in the comments. But I don't know. My guess is most likely they have smaller bits of health, or smaller bits of more health, and just do slightly more damage. And maybe there's just more enemies that spawn. I have no clue. Very hard is very weird. But all because I think that this is very weird and very odd doesn't mean that I hate the game by any means. I still like this game. I still recommend this game. I think it's a relatively fun game for sure. So it's a decent hack and slash, and to be fair, Suda51 games are never really. I'm never really too crazy about them anyway, but I do have my moments with them that are kind of fun. So this next phase right here is a lot harder than phase 1 and 2, because I mean it's the third phase. So the hand does a ton of damage, and you can't hit it, unfortunately, which I figured out there. So I was kind of forced to use a Lollipop at that time. Also, apparently you can't use Nick tickets here, so yeah, I guess I was either trying to do one or I accidentally did it, one of the two. But I'm pretty sure even if you did die, it would probably just allow you to do a Nick ticket. And when you do die, you see that screen go gray, and then you're falling over, and then you hit the sticks. You just keep mashing the sticks until you get it, basically, is what I do. And then bam, there you go. So essentially with the hand usually stays relatively stationary until it lands, and then it kind of chases you around the field. But the trick is, for me, is to keep the hand at least in frame whenever I'm shooting, so that way I know how much distance I am between it. And then whenever you go to reload, just dodge. Because I think reloading, well, reloading takes up a lot of time. It has a lot of lag on it. So when you dodge, you can at least, for the most part, get rid of some of that ending lag, which is very nice. You can also reload while aiming. You just hit square while aiming, and then there you go. So pretty nifty stuff. These balls are relatively easy to dodge, but very, very annoying, though, because they just come out of everywhere. Most of this fight is just essentially just like, you know, watching and dodging type thing. And this part right here, oh god. So normally I'm not the type of person that thinks camera in video games are bad, but this is the exception, because I usually hate when people just hate on camera in video games. The camera itself, it's like, oh, the camera fucking blah blah blah, you know, like I think that's always just a lame, stupid ass excuse for why you suck. But right there, that camera was actually god awful, because you couldn't keep it on a specific spot because the game forced it back into its own spot, and it was just incredibly hard to see. But yeah, for a boss fight, this is really not that bad. But anyway, that's basically the end of it, so I'm running out of time, and I will see you guys in the next episode, or whatever it's called, the next part. So see you all then. Take care, everybody.